All right, so we're going to move on from that to item 8, comments from council members. First item, request for deferment of 2021 increases for all city-run enterprises accounts due to COVID-19 pandemic and its financial impact on San Bruno families. Councilmember Mason.
Thank you. If it's okay, I'm going to read something, but it's specific to both of the items since they're both about a deferment and foregoing costs. So the deferment of the enterprise funds, I want to just be clear with the public that water and sewer, the council unanimously already asked staff to look into the financial implications if we were to defer those for 2021. So that really just leaves cable and internet, so the city net enterprises for this year. And then the second item was to request that staff send a letter to Recology requesting that they forego their 2021 increases. So as we are only beginning to reopen, we are not, nor will we be back to quote unquote full normal for some time. Meanwhile, we have residents that are home out of work, residents who are home working, kids remotely working, seniors cooped up, and everybody getting back to basics. Our food pantries still have lines longer than ever. On July 20th, 2020, Dr. Scott Morrow, our San Mateo County Public Health Director, called for rapid policy system changes at every level of both public and private sectors when describing the fundamental structural failures of the U.S. economy that, as he described, quote unquote, are being laid bare by the pandemic. He went on to say that these structural issues seem to be a major cause of the transmission we're now seeing, at least in San Mateo County. Many elements of the U.S. economy can be viewed as illogical, even immoral, in my opinion, he says, in that so many people are forced to live lives of economic desperation, live paycheck to paycheck, are not paid a living wage, live with no workplace safety nets like healthcare, like paid sick leave, or other wage protection programs. While these structural issues are illogical in good times, they are downright inexplicable in times of the pandemic. These structural problems are at such a massive scale that they can no longer be ignored. End quote. We, the City Council and Recology, have this unique opportunity to provide, albeit minimal relief to some, but optimal relief for those who are struggling during these uncertain economic times. This is our time to put our community over profit. For background, water and sewer rates have increased year after year for over 10 years. Recology has increased annually for 24 years. CityNet Cable issued high increases last year to make San Bruno more competitive. Understanding that these increases may have and were necessary at the time, it is unclear that the funds are in a negative place after all these recent increases. It's also unclear that 1 year of foregoing an increase after 24 years of increases in garbage will adversely impact our garbage company. However, these increases will and can greatly impact a household who is truly living on the margins. I ask my fellow council members tonight to support both of these requests that will take little time and could greatly impact our families. Thank you.
Sorry. Let me just, so I want to make sure I wrote it down. On the first bullet point, it had said for all enterprise accounts, but you're saying no, because I believe you just said, on January 12th, we already gave direction to council to come back with water, sewer, which council said we couldn't do it. They wouldn't have the data tonight, probably in February. So I just wanted to clarify. Okay, so you're just talking city net service.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Want to make sure I'm following. Okay. And then on the okay, so why don't we take that at first? So it's city net services specifically. Is there any? We'll go around and see if there's questions or comments from colleagues. Let's see. Let's just go down. I'm sorry. Councilmember Salazar.
I was wondering, was there a planned rate increase for city net services?
City manager.
Sure. Members of the City Council, again, Javon Grogan, City Manager. There is currently not a planned rate increase for CityNet in the next 12 months. Caveat.
Okay.
What the City Council provided, I believe in 2018, was provided authority to the city manager to adjust rates with CityNet for a few primary reasons. Primary reason being, or the first primary reason being, we are operating an enterprise where we compete against the private market. And so you allow your executives to adjust prices and introduce new products to compete with the private sector, which is what we do with that business. In addition, we are facing what every other paid TV provider is facing, which is increasingly more expensive renewals for the content that we then retransmit and resell. When we get these renewed contracts, we have essentially three choices. We can eat the cost, and council will remember about a year and a half ago, potentially 2 years ago, we were losing about $3 per subscriber per month because we had not increased fees. But that is one option. When our costs go up, we cannot pass on that to our customers, and we can eat it. The second option is to actually raise fees commensurate, so we both keep a profit margin and keep pace with the marketplace. And our private market competitors do that routinely. The other third option that we have is we can drop that channel or that subset of channels. And we've done that periodically, and we are constantly looking into the packages we offer. One of the challenges we have as a legacy cable provider when we're renegotiating our contracts is that the content providers make you carry their not just one channel, but potentially a suite of channels in your most popular tier. And so then we're paying a fee for everyone that consumes our basic cable tier. And so it's roughly 6,000 people. And these renewals can hit $30,000 for one channel or one channel package. And so in that action you took in 2018, you allowed us to move with the market and manage the enterprise in more of a fluid way without, for lack of a better term, the red tape of pausing that change and coming to the city council every time there's a change in the enterprise business model. And so my recommendation to the city council is that you preserve that ability for your executives to manage the enterprise.
Did it answer your question, Councilmember?
It did answer my question. I would follow up with understanding all of those constraints, and definitely in the interest of not getting in a situation where we start falling behind again. Is there something we could do along the lines of at least freezing costs on the most basic internet package, which is probably more of a lifeline now for everybody who's working from home and studying from home, and then allow the other portions of what we pay to keep pace. So I mean, we won't subsidize HBO, but we will make sure that everybody has at least a basic internet connection.
So let me submit to the city council that we've already done that.
Okay.
During COVID, at the beginning of COVID-19, along with, in alignment with the governor's order that you cannot turn off utility services, and increasingly internet is being seen as a utility, we committed not to turn off cable services. That has created a positive in the community, but it has also financially impacted the enterprise. So we have seen more and more accounts go into non-payment status to the tune of approximately $70,000 a month. And so we have adjusted that because let's say you had the best package. Whether you pay us or not, we still have to pay HBO, Showtime, KTVU, the per subscriber rate, whether you pay us or not. So we approximately 2 months ago sent a letter to everyone that had not paid their bill and said that we were going to drop you to the lowest cable and internet tier. So we were not going to turn you off, but we weren't going to keep paying for your Showtime, HBO, and Cinemax if you weren't paying your bill, and we were going to encourage you to enter into a payment plan. Our normal payment plan is roughly 6 months. We were willing to work with people and go for a 12-month payment plan. And since doing that, we have had a number of customers either one, pay the full freight and become current, enter into a payment plan so their internet tiers didn't drop. And so we are being a compassionate operator and business, but we still need to run a business and run it successfully. In addition, we have a low cost internet tier of $10 a month. On top of that, during COVID-19, we instituted, working with community partners funded by YouTube and the San Bruno Education Foundation, we put together a free internet program for any kid in school in San Bruno, whether that was public school or private school. If you needed internet and could not afford it, there are resources that have been brought to bear to provide free internet for a year. And so that has been pushed out. And so I would submit to you that we've done that, and we're continuing to operate the enterprise as efficiently as possible.
Well, thank you, City Manager, for reminding me of all of those facts. Those are things that have come to us before, so I definitely appreciate that effort, and it sounds like we're meeting that burden. Thank you.
Councilmember Hamilton?
I have the exact same question that Michael did regarding what was the planned increase, if there was a planned increase.
Vice Mayor Medina?
Right. Pretty much covered the water and sewer. So here with CityNet, we've really struggled to get CityNet in position to not continually lose money. And those were tough decisions of having to raise the rates. I just would like to know a little bit more how somebody that is having trouble, besides how maybe giving that more information out to the public of how they can qualify for this reduced rate. How does that work exactly for the public? I have an idea how it works, but what happens? Somebody calls in, says, hey, I'm having trouble making payments. Can I get the basic? So City Manager, how does that work?
Sure. So there is I'm trying to think of what we call the form, but there's a form that the city has that provides reduced utility costs to low-income residents. And at this moment, I'm not remembering what we call the form or what the percent discount is, but we can certainly, through the Emergency Operations Center, the communications section, re-push that out to the community so everyone is made aware. But I know that all of the staff that operate the city main line have access to that information, and it provides discounts for all of our utilities.
As a follow-up, so I believe that's kind of covered with some type of income, but like, especially at this time that we're aware, like, how does somebody prove that, right? So I think we should just be very lenient in allowing people to get onto that plan. Just that it's really hard, and I'm sorry, I'm a little lost of words, because I think Councilman Salazar said it. You know, we can't. I'm not in favor of subsidizing HBO. You know, so getting the basic programs, making sure kids and people that rely on access to the internet, we should be making sure that that's still available to them at a lower cost at this time, that really needed it. So I think that's the primary issue that we're going to be talking about now, is with CityNet, since the next issue is with the ecology part. Council Member Mason.
Well, let me, this is what I do know about I think it's 20, I'm going to go off memory, 25% for water, sewer, and garbage if it's a 32-gallon tote. I think it has to be 32, it can't be 20. And then you would contact finance, you show some income documents, I think it might even be tax returns, and I'm not 100% sure on all that, or how they do it during the COVID times, and then it is reduced for all of those services, and I just forget off the top of my head whether it's cable as well, but I think it is, since it's ours. City manager?
Yeah.
I see your hand up.
Why don't I recommend a three-pronged approach to provide council and the public with information on this? So one, we can push out the information to subscribe to the city's reduced utility plans. And so we can push that out in various forms to the community and get that out again. We are coming to the city council to talk about cable. When we bring a plan for the fiber to the home project, we can provide an update on rates, our cost structure, and where we are with non-payment related to COVID-19, and what are the lowest cost internet tiers at that time. With regard to our general utility bills, we are planning to come to the city council soon. I'm trying to think of the tickler file. I don't know exactly what meeting, but commensurate with the potential increase in stormwater, the council directed staff to return with the option of reducing the 5% annual rate increase that was planned for sewer and water. At that time, we're also planning to talk to the city council about our bill, and we've had a number of residents come in prior meetings to talk about the city's bi-monthly utility bill and why our utility costs are so high. And so we are planning a presentation to the city council and the public on the structure of our bill. And so we can talk about our low-income reduced rate plans at that time when we talk about how the bill is structured and why residents receive a bi-monthly bill that's broken out for 3 various utilities. I know that was a lot, but I think we can we can push out information to the community. When we talk about CityNet, we can talk about our rate structure then, and then when we come to you on water and sewer rates, we can talk about how our low-income rates are structured for that at that time. And so all of that is coming to you within the next 2 months.
Okay, so just in concluding, but I'm also, there's the basic levels, the $10, nobody's being turned off. There's the low income option for some, but yeah, I mean, if I have HBO, Showtime, and those costs go up, I don't think we should run the risk of the business not being able to be profitable. And keep in mind, we also got it down because cable renegotiated a lot of contracts, and so that team did a lot of work in that area. But anyway, that's my final comments. Councilmember Mason.
What was the increase last year, City Manager Grogan? Was it 30%? 20%? You're muted.
Melissa, the city clerk, can you bring in Sandeep Krishnamurthy, the director of CityNet Services? The increase actually was not a percent, it was a dollar increase on various plans based on how those plans were structured and our costs connected to those plans. And so it's not fair to say it was an X percent increase. It was a dollar value change for plans. And in addition, we added a charge for the set-top boxes so we can have both build a replacement fund for the thousands of set-top boxes that we have out in the marketplace.
And even an average, Sandeep, would be great. What did the average client's bill go up?
I think we're still bringing.
He's in. I'm just having trouble unmuting him.
And council, let me just say, because I know you know this, but for members of the public, we did not prepare a full presentation and discussion on this item. This came up as a council member comment, and so that's why we don't have all of the information and the questions that you're asking at our fingertips.
I'm unable to unmute Sandeep. I don't know if he's able to unmute himself.
Yeah, I know a number of plans went up by $5. I do not know offhand what percent that was on those plans. And then there was a $2 or $3 set-top box charge that was implemented.
So I think, I mean, I still stick with what I said, because a majority of people told me that their bills went up pretty substantially, and I understand that CityNet hadn't increased rates in a while. I understand that the ability to increase lies solely with the city manager, does not lie with the council. But I also understand and heard that we're behind $70,000 a month, which is alarming, and clearly is an issue. And given the increases that we had last year, given the pandemic we're in this year, and then given the $70,000 a month arrears that's growing, I don't see how we can, make families even think that they might get another increase this year. And I think that's really what this is about. It's about peace of mind to be able to tell our families here in San Bruno and our seniors that they don't have to worry about an increase this year. So the city manager, Grogan, and I had discussed this. I am aware that there are no planned increases at this time, but he also shared the caveat with us that it's possible that there may be an increase later on. And I guess I'm just not comfortable with that, given where we are right now.
City manager, did you just not discuss bringing everything back with staff report and numbers and facts and figures?
But that's not, we're making a decision tonight, though, on whether to have staff look into the potential of delaying any increase.
Right, so.
Let this, go ahead, city manager.
Information is correct. There are no planned increases at this time. One of the things I also articulated is that while a number of people in our community have been financially impacted by COVID-19, absolutely. It is also true that a portion of our community, and we do not know how large, has not been financially impacted by COVID-19. And if our cost goes up, the ability not to raise the price for those families would mean that the city is potentially unnecessarily subsidizing those families that have not had a financial COVID-19 impact. And so we would be creating policy without a lot of data on actually what portion of our ratepayers we're impacting, and are we essentially further putting the enterprise in a depressed financial position for customers that are consuming an entertainment product that have not had a COVID-19 financial impact.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, council?
Can we take a vote?
Vice Mayor?
Can we, how about we do this? Can it be that our city manager brings us forward the increase when it comes to his attention? Because currently he's empowered to not have to. And I voted in favor of that because we needed flexibility as we're trying to put CityNet services on good financial footing, that we needed the flexibility to allow him to do that. Well, now we're in COVID times, so perhaps that could just be modified and that any planned increases would be brought forward to us and for us to make that final decision.
Vice Mayor, I do like that council needs, there is nothing, at this point, there is nothing scheduled as we sit here tonight. And I think the city manager also said about bringing forward information about how folks can apply for reduced costs to us as well, and then have more specific data as to where the need may be within that service, the CityNet services. And I'd like to have the data. And I apologize, Councilmember Hamilton. Your hand's up.
Oh, no problem. I was just going to say, actually, I like that idea that Vice Member Dina just came through with about just temporarily suspending the unilateral right to raise the fee and bring it to us. But I would also be in favor of putting an end date on that when we would put that in there. So to make it absolutely clear that this is a temporary thing just because of COVID, that if 6 months from now it's determined that we want to raise rates, that we discuss it first before implementing it and bring it before council. But maybe have that be in place throughout the rest of 2021.
Okay, Councilmember Salazar.
So I am going to disagree with the need to do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, I believe that staff has demonstrated not only the ability to be very judicious with the increases, but also in having a rapid ability to decrease and adjust those rates as necessary. And that proved to be critical during that time when we were juggling around trying to figure out how to get people who were stuck at home now free internet and get them set up. And I think that flexibility was important in allowing him to do that. So I don't think I would be in favor of changing that arrangement. Having it come back to us would mean that it would have to be agendized and it would have to wait 2 weeks. And I honestly don't feel that, it's going to come back to us and we're going to say, yeah, we agree, don't raise it. But at the end of the day, that I don't see that that's really necessary for it to come back to us. And I have confidence that staff is going to be responsive to the citizens' needs and that they're not going to raise it arbitrarily.
Anything you want to finish up with the city manager, other than obviously you can commit that if that was going to happen, you come to council, but I appreciate everybody's good dialogue. Anything final?
Sure. What I would say is that because of a council member comment, we've got ourselves into a conversation about essentially a quantum shift in how an enterprise is managed. And one of the things that we did last year is we actually introduced new packages that reduced our cost per package and actually increased our profit per package. And we created a path to seamlessly and quickly roll that out and start converting people from the old package to the new package. What we just announced 2 months ago was a new router package where you could have whole home Wi-Fi for businesses. The ability that you've given, and I'm not saying this for me, it's that you've given that ability to your executive, whether I sit in this seat or someone else sits in this seat, to appropriately manage an enterprise that competes against the private sector. And one of the challenges that you had with that enterprise before is that it did not have the flexibility to move and adjust like its private market competitors. And it ended up with owing the city $14 million. And we have turned a corner in how we operate this enterprise. And in a very short conversation without the benefit of data, charts, graphs, information, and staff being prepared to actually forthrightly have this conversation to make a change to potentially prevent cost adjustments in the enterprise is something that I I think it's a significant policy decision that unfortunately hasn't been given the time and wait for it to be addressed. And by council comments, what we envisioned was a conversation about looking into things that staff should possibly spend time to research and work on, not a idea that becomes policy after a 15 to 20 minute conversation without your staff having the ability to provide you with professional advice and simply just responding off the cuff to various questions.
I would add to that also, city manager, that I don't believe legally we can make a decision based on something that's agendized as a comment, because unless a decision is agendized, we can't take action to make a decision that's a policy change. So best we can do is a direction to staff to bring something back, and that's kind of been the policy in the past. So I don't think that that's changed. I see that Mark unmuted himself, so he may have a comment.
City Attorney?
Sure. Only to say that this is clearly a broad policy discussion, which the City Council may decide is more appropriate for a full conduct of business item with a staff report, as opposed to just an oral discussion with no backup material to written material to provide both the council and the public.
And then if it were to say the executive team didn't have that latitude any longer, that would have to be agendized and bring that back, because that's not on here to modify, and that was by council action. So
I think that's correct. I think it's really inadvisable for the city council to be making policy decisions, especially those of this sort of import, in this particular section of the agenda without any formal guidance from staff regarding options, alternatives, and so on. There have been a number of things discussed, some of them perhaps good ideas that the council might wish to thoroughly consider, but this particular portion of the agenda really isn't designed for those discussions.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Oh, City Manager?
What I would again proffer to the City Council is you have previously directed staff to come back with a financing plan for fiber to the home, which, based on the business plan, is the most critical thing that we need to decide if we're doing to truly decide whether we're in the business or out of the business. That is coming before you in the next 2 months. It is my recommendation that you pause this conversation and have a more holistic discussion about CityNet services when we bring you financing options for fiber to the home, because that truly determines whether long-term we're in the business or we're out.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay. I appreciate that. And what you say within 2 months. All right, council direction to staff? To staff. The city manager? We've heard what Councilmember Mason had wishes.
Yeah. I still stand strong behind my initial request.
Okay.
Just a reminder, $70,000 a month. People are not paying. The request is really to put people over profit this year. And, we have a community that is truly suffering. We've got people in our community that are suffering. We don't have any planned increases. So why not just give people the peace of mind to not have to worry about increases this year?
Okay. Mr. Hamilton, what would you like to do? I'm just going to go around the room, and it's either staff's directed to potentially do that or come back in the 2 months that the city manager has asked with data.
So what isn't being talked about, but I think it was already agreed to by the city manager about re-communicating the options for folks who are struggling paying their bills and how to do that process. So that's a done deal. We don't need to discuss that anymore, right?
I'd agree.
Okay. So I would, given everything that we've heard here, and given where we are on the agenda, that would be a policy change. I would be in favor of waiting for it to come back. I highly doubt that there's going to be any kind of increase that's put in the next 2 months. So I would wait. I would advise us waiting for it to come back, and we can talk about it holistically together.
Councilmember Salazar.
I'm with Tom.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are dismissing our concern of our residents that are struggling, and without knowing what the potential rate increase would be, and we're not even allowed to make that policy decision right now, according to the city attorney. I think there's no way for me to say that I believe in it, but I can't support it until we have that data that we're going to get in a couple months. So yeah, let's let people know about this affordable rate and how they can scale back. I have the basic plan, and cable, it's $19, I think, a month or something like that. It's just, we barely even watch TV. But letting people know that there are these options that you can scale back. And right now, this is the most important thing. There are no planned rate increases, right? So we're way ahead of ourselves here. But I'm in favor of having the data come back and having the full study session so that we can discuss it thoroughly.
Okay. I concur with, it's like I said, we've already been told there is no increases. It's 2 months, and then to have a well-rounded data that comes back so that we can have a good conversation and staff is prepared. All right, may we please move on to the ecology to forego the 2021 garbage rate increase. And you heard from Councilmember Mason, it's requesting that the city manager or city attorney make a written request to ecology. Comments from colleagues?
This is a new area for me, as most areas are.
Sure.
But on the face of it, it can't hurt to ask. Is what I'm thinking here. Because obviously there's a contract, and but maybe we ask and see what they say. Might be oversimplifying, but.
Well, maybe not this hour. The one thing that I know is it was brought up last time, and staff correct me, and on the increase for the 51 cents a month, and they said, we'll put it off. But then it would be, okay, then whatever the next year is, plus that. And so council decided, hey, let's do that so we're not compounding it because of the way the contract's written. My only thing is too, I'm going off memory, is that whatever the revenues and expenses are for this year, when we do the detailed report next year, that could have an outcome, positive or negative, because of the detailed report that they do. So I think we have to think beyond that too. So anyway, my thoughts. Mr. Salazar.
Yeah, so I'm taking from your comments, Mr. Mayor, that this is going to be one of the simple years, and so it's basically a CPI adjustment. I'm wondering how COVID impacted the CPI. I imagine that with a lot of costs being impacted, that CPI may not be as large as it has been in other years. So I don't know. At this point, we don't really know what that number is going to look like. But I mean, do we want to get ahead of it? I don't remember either the timing on when that increase would come about. But I don't know. it always seems to me like garbage, out of all the things that we increase every year, garbage is always like the smallest one. It's always like the water and sewer rates that end up breaking our backs when those go up. But garbage is always such a small one. I don't know if how much effort we want to put into that, but if it's something they're amenable to, maybe we can informally. I don't know that we want to try to make a contractual change, but if it's something we can do informally as a just a consideration, I'd be in favor of doing that.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, we kind of did this last year where we asked them. They have a contract that allows them to obtain those increases. Sure, we could ask to have the city manager do that. My question is, and when does the rate increase start? Because that's a few months from now, so we're again like way ahead of the game.
I think it's March.
Sorry?
I think it's March.
Okay.
Contract. So yeah, we're trying. I mean, we're trying to get ahead of the game, so we're not reactive.
Yeah. Well, it's the garbage rates generally are pretty low increases over a month. You know, it's $1. I mean, I think one time it went up 4%. This last one was 51 cents, and I think I'm more in favor of let's find out what that rate increase is going to be. They have to do their numbers, and at that point I'll be able to say, you know, sure. Right now it seems like it's just a little premature to do, and I don't think it's that as big of a significant number to where it will be that impactful.
And Council Member Hamilton has his hand up, and then maybe once he's done, City Manager, do we have an idea of when they present the numbers? I mean, because once again, we don't know what that is.
So,
Sorry, Tom.
Okay, go ahead.
Mayor, members of the council, I did receive an update today that the rate increase for next year has been officially received by the city. It is approximately a 1.86% increase, which amounts to roughly 60 cents per month for the 32-gallon toter. So 60 cents per month. That comes to the city council typically, last year it came in May for an effective in July. And so there needs to be some analysis done on that. And last year, I believe this topic came up. Council members are correct that there was a request of Recology to delay it. They were willing or postpone it or forego it. What they were willing to do was to delay it. And so it would compound in the next year. And I can't exactly recall what that increase was, but it was a 1-point-something% increase. And when we had that conversation, we knew that there would be some CPI inflator this year. And so we didn't want it to sort of compound, right? And so if memory serves me, it was like a 1.62% increase. But if that compounded with the 1.87% increase, right, we'd be looking over a 3% increase. And council felt at that time, given that the actual dollar amount, I believe last year was 51 cents per month, and this year we're looking at about 60 cents per month. The decision last year was to not forego it and have it compound, which they were willing to do, but have the moderate increase occur as per the contract envisions every year. And so should the city council desire, we can once again make a request. I just asked for clarity, are we requesting a full foregoing of it or just a delay? Fully foregoing is essentially a request for a contract amendment, which would be a longer, more involved, more in-depth process. But whatever the city council desires, we can request.
So I did use the language forego because I did watch the meeting from last year, so that it doesn't compound, right? Because it's already in the contract what the annual increase is supposed to be. So if they forego for a year, then the idea would be that there's no compounding and there's no increase this year. And I've read all 9 amendments, and they're all about 3 paragraphs. So I'd be okay with that.
I see no other hands. Let's go around and just see. Again, it's to. I think you heard the council member. So I'll need that. What's the wish? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a little tired today. So I would, since we know the percentage, let's see what they're willing to do, in response to our communities. What could they do, and let them report back, and the city manager could write that letter, and then we'll know.
Okay.
Or I mean, we could say, hey, yeah, we can forego it, and then they're going to come back to us and say, well, yes, no, we'll do this. So, sure, you can write the letter. I don't have an issue with it. I kind of, we're dealing with it 4 months ahead of time.
Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Salazar, Tom.
I agree with Vice Mayor. That was my basically what I said when we started the conversation. So let's ask. Let's see what they say. Especially now that we know what the number is. Yeah, let's see what they say, and then we can make a decision.
I guess I have a little concern based on what the city manager said about whether it's postpone or eliminate could trigger a change to the contract. So I'm willing to make the request, but if it's going to get to the point where it's going to require a lot of staff time to make a contractual change, I don't know that the tiny amount of money that we're going to save the residents is going to be worth that effort. So, I'm kind of torn. I think it's a good idea, and I really commend Councilmember Mason for bringing these things up. Just even for the things that we've already addressed, I think it's important for us to remember what's being done, and always exploring new opportunities to work with our residents. But at the same time, I don't want to drown our staff with things that might not be as impactful. I think we've dealt with the big ones. This is one of the smaller ones. I just want to make sure that we keep all that in perspective as we make the request.
Okay, and then for me, anybody can ask the question, but as far as renegotiating the contract and spending that time, that is something I think needs to really be addressed. So a simple question that can be asked. I don't know how formal you need to make this, but just like what was done last time. And then I'm sure that both sides will say, well, here's what you can do, what you can't do, or the legalities, or what have you. So, and then bring it back, since obviously it doesn't go into effect until July 1. That's where I'm at. So, City Manager, did that make sense?
Yes. So, just so the council is reminded and the public knows, what typically happens is that we receive the request, we go through a process to analyze it. It is even in the CPI year, there is a process where we engage with the firm and we do analyze the request, because there is some nuance behind their operations and their ability to actually make the request. And so we will still do that process, but we will ask the question. And what I'm hearing for council is the request is to forego the rate increase for 21-22.
I think you need to ask the question of what can they. I mean, last year I got the impression it was to put it off a year. It wasn't to forego. That's my understanding from last year. is they didn't say we're just going to eliminate it. It goes away forever. So again, we have a contract, so you're probably going to need the attorney. They have a process. They have to officially notify you of what it is, which you've got a little bit of intel. But I know there's a process, and then it would come back to council that would have all these options in a detailed staff report. And I think those are the times we make the best decision.
And Mayor Medina, just for context, though, I just want to be clear that the written council comment is forego, because I just imagine having a table like the contract. There's 2021 no increase, 2022 contract, 2023 I believe is the last year, whatever the contract amount is, and that would really reflect the change.
Okay, well, you'll have a conversation, city manager, and bring it back in the staff report with all that you have, and if there's any additional stuff that you and the city attorney will go over too. We'll get all the data.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you all. I'd like to move on to item B. I'm sorry. Councilmember Mason, did you have anything else under council comments? I apologize.
Oh, I just wanted to thank everybody who came out on Saturday. I was invited and I went as a participant, and this is the third community event that has been thrown, and the group that's scheduling these is growing. It was a really nice community event. If anybody is still on, which I see we still have attendees, definitely come out to the next one. It was really nice. Recology was there. They were helping out. Mayor Medina was there. Councilmember Hamilton was there. And I think that we'll probably be able to get the whole council there at some point, but it was really nice. And unfortunately, we picked up a lot of garbage, but it was a great community event. So thank you for everyone who came out.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on to item B. Marty Medina, request for formation of 2 ad hoc subcommittees, beautification and communication. And then, of course, once you're done there, anything else you'd like to add too?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for making this real easy, because one's already done for the beautification, and the name of it isn't as important as the intent to how do we clean up our city a little bit more and look at the ways of solving this problem of all the trash and dumpings that have been going on. And so thank you for that ad hoc subcommittee, and I'm happy to serve on it. The second one I was proposing was an ad hoc committee to look into how to improve the communication from the city to our community, whether it's through social media, through email. What can we do? And we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We could look around at what other cities are doing and cherry pick the best things. And I think a subcommittee would work well and would initially not require any staff time, which is what happened in the residential parking permit program, where the mayor and I and Tom and we pretty much met on our own and put together a plan, and then brought it to staff. So that's my interest here, and how could we get our community important information and be able to communicate better. So going through the process of asking for a ad hoc subcommittee to take that, and then when they do meet with staff, any improvements or changes would be brought back to the city council for the ultimate decision. And I'm willing to serve on it as well. So,
thank you for both. I think what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is have our city manager and Jennifer Dianos just collaborate. Maybe tell us if whatever they may have, since there's been some movement in the office. And then, yes, why don't my thought would be it never hurts, and especially like you said, even with Zoom. I know in the other time when we had the residential parking, we could get together, so that was it was enjoyable. And so I know it's a little modified, but maybe we'll get back there. So I'm fine with that, unless there's any other thoughts from council that don't want to see that. Then I just say we go forward with that. I'll get some data, and then I'm going to circle back with the vice mayor if that's okay. I got a Tom. Yes, Councilmember Salazar. Sorry.
I had a question about the old beautification task force and what happened to it, and the members of that, and it had its own activities. And Operation Clean Sweep was one of the big events that group would put together, and I know there's only remnants of it left on the website, and I was just curious why it was taken down, and were the members of that committee communicated to, and was there an expectation that they would be brought back in some capacity to work on those annual events?
So it was the beautification task force, you're correct, and the membership that was doing that communicated that they were no longer going to wish to or could participate in that. However, as you know, the beautification, clean sweep was canceled for obvious reasons, may have to be again for obvious reasons. So I think, hearing from the vice mayor too, it's about being inclusive and including people and trying to figure a way to get the message and change the behavior and get things into a better state. So they can be reached out to again. Maybe time has passed, and maybe some of them would be very interested in helping where they can.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and then we can work on this. I had called it the Clean San Bruno Action Committee. So anyway, so it would be more of a collective, vice mayor.
Yeah, was the beautification task force an official committee that was approved by the council and appointed?
My response to that would be no. It was, I won't say it wasn't an official committee, but no, it was not appointed by the San Bruno City Council. Anybody and everybody was welcome to attend and participate.
Okay, all right.
It was listed on our website along with the other committees at one time, up till sometime last year. It was listed as one of our committees and commissions. And there's even a reference to it in our municipal code.
Kind of comes back to that governance thing on our strategic initiatives that we will talk about, I guess, later in the year.
Yeah, and I think they kept it as a more fun group, whether it was doing the decorations, right, taking photos that they would spread out in the community and then submit those, or the clean sweep, like you said. So it wasn't a formal Brown Act minutes and all of that. There was some stuff, but it was, I think they were trying to make it enjoyable and needed the person power to help out. Okay. And I'm sorry, and Vice Mayor, anything else for you?
Yeah, the work that the volunteers did this past weekend was really inspiring, and Riley Gibbons, Stephen Seymour, you guys did a really great job, and everybody else that was out there. You know, it shows what a couple people can start, and I look forward to working with them and with everybody and finding ways to keep our city looking great. So my quick announcements: rain or shine at Bel Air on Thursday. There'll be a food distribution from 2 to 4 o'clock. We're going to try to figure it out. You know, right now it's howling in the wind, and I don't know if it's going to be a pretty crazy event, but that's the official notice, and I just wanted to let everybody know, like, we're going to be there for you. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hamilton, anything for you, sir?
Yeah, I want to echo, actually now two council member comments. Regarding the cleanup event, obviously I was part of it. It was it was very, very inspiring. And not to rehash what's already been said, which I completely agree with. One thing I want to note that made it special for me was that while there were a lot of folks from the Tanforan neighborhood who were out there cleaning their neighborhood, there were plenty of folks from all over San Bruno. And it was obvious from talking to everyone that everyone's going to go to the next neighborhood. It doesn't matter where you live. Everybody in San Bruno seems to be interested in cleaning up everywhere in San Bruno. And that was a really nice takeaway for me from that. And then Marty, I'm glad you brought up the Bel Air food distribution. I will be there, and I'll help you gather animals 2 by 2 as necessary, because it's going to be it might be fun, but I'll be out there. And it's such a desperate time for the community. It's very important.
Councilmember Salazar.
No, I don't have any other comments. Just wish everybody a great night, and remind everybody to stay safe.
Yes, and I won't re-echo what everybody's already said. So it was a very nice community effort, and so hopefully it started some of us all working together everywhere in the city. And then the second thing is the city did post out some information, phone numbers, sandbags, those type of things. But folks, it's raining, so please be extra careful if you have to go out or on the road, and be safe, be healthy, stay strong. And with that said, we're going to adjourn this meeting to the next regular city council meeting, which will be held on February 9th, 2021 at 7 o'clock via Zoom.
Stay safe, everybody.
Take care, all.